Okay, hello and welcome once again to Table Talk with Gwen, Yvonne and Elham. We are three friends that have spent a lot of time talking to each other about various everyday issues that affect us all. And we thought, why don't we actually share this with you so that maybe you might benefit or feel supported, or if we share what we're experiencing, it might have some relevance for you. So if you like what we talk about, would you mind subscribing by pressing the button below? It helps us get more people on board. And when we can have a better engagement and exchange with you all. And please write in your comments because we're always willing to talk about whatever you may wish to talk about that might help you. So today, before we came on the call, we were all feeling very emotional and vulnerable. So we thought, why don't we talk about this? Why don't we ask the question? So, what's going on today for me? What am I experiencing that feels uncomfortable? And how do I cope with that? How do I manage it? So, I would like to invite Elham to go first, if that will be all right, Elham. Thank
Sure. Um, so I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here, and to have this opportunity to talk with you and to talk with our friends because, um, I mean, I've had a lot of difficulties in my life, but I can't remember such a huge amount of collective pressure. Like there's this, everyone, like there's a shared sense of difficulty or challenge, which amplifies everything. And there's pressure around, well, for me, I guess what's coming up for me is this kind of, um I'm not feeling too comfortable with all the uncertainty. I'm not very good with uncertainty. I kind of, um I mean, I've lived with a lot of uncertainty, and I've lived my life, like in my academic career, I was always a short-term contract researcher, and I went from short-term contract to short-term contract, and I always trusted that the next short-term contract would turn up. With the Tara Centre, we don't have core funding, so I've always just gone month to month, and I think it's okay, it'll be okay next month, and it always has been. But something is shifting at the moment. There's something which is making that trust, and surrender really challenging for me, and that's, I think I'm trying to work out what it is, and I think it's this thing. There's a narrative at the moment which is, somebody else is making decisions on my behalf, and I have less power than I used to. I think we've talked about this before, but it's a theme that keeps coming up for me, as in, it's not actually true. I know it's not true. I know it's not true in that I have the power for my own life, but there is a very strong collective narrative at the moment that we just have to stay home. Other people are going to make decisions on our behalf, and we'll just have to do what they say. And if that means becoming unemployed, that means just deal with it. If that means not being able to have the kind of life you want, well, then it's just, there's just, it just feels like, well, just deal with it. It's just everyone's going through it, so you deal with it.
you.
And that level of uncertainty, yeah, it's difficult.
So do you think to some extent is it getting to us a bit? Is it feels like a pressure now, like a
Yeah,
pressure cooker within, well, it does within me. And I feel like I am really struggling to hold it together at the minute.
yeah,
It's like, I suppose when you don't feel you've any control in your outside world,
exactly.
you try to find it within yourself. But I don't know about you, but I'm actually struggling to feel like a woman on the edge. Like I could, I could at any moment just go completely mad and insane, and I feel anger. I feel this anger welling up in me. I thought I dealt with a lot of my anger, and I didn't think I was particularly angry about anything, but oh my God, I have felt anger. Like I honestly, I'm like some kind of force that I could just smash the house up. I mean, it's like, I mean, I'm not going to do it, but the desire to do it, the desire to destroy, it's like that Kali, raging, divine feminine energy that just wants this, you know, to this to stop. I want it all to stop now, because I've had enough. I've had enough of the emotional roller coaster, the lack of control, the lack of freedom, the lies, the deception, the dishonesty, but even not that, but just not the truth, no transparency. Where is the truth at the minute? You know, and so many people. I don't go on Facebook. I don't watch the news because it's just it's so many factions with so many different beliefs and opinions, and it's like the world out there is going crazy, you know. So I don't think my inner experience of crazy isn't reflected out there in the world. You know, even when you stay at home, it seeps in under the door and through the cracks, sort of thing. But yeah, and that leaves me feeling very unstable at times and emotional. So Yvonne, you're always our beacon of our anchor. Well, you are to me. I always think you're the voice of reason in all of this. Um, but what is your experience? Because that probably could be very unfair, really.
No, my experience, what you both said resonates with me. However, what I can see is that the times when the rage in me, you two have been there. You know, it's like I can't say that I can't say I feel the rage. I'm feeling grief, and somewhere in it, it's the same. It's the same emotion. It's discombobulated, and it's uncertain and unstable, and not knowing when it's going to end. And what's coming up for me is, can I welcome that? Can I accept that? So my intuitive inner self is saying, can you accept that as part of this? Is the whole of you, and it's showing that I'm alive, because what I've come to see is that for a big part of my life I wasn't alive. I was just trundling around in this system, this system of what you've just said is control. I felt like, is this it? Going to work every day in a government that tells you what's it? Well, it's just hopeless. I may as well just give into it. Whereas what I'm feeling now is the uncertainty of change, which I've never really welcomed. I've wanted to hold on to everything exactly how it is. And finding ways to remind myself that out of this change, wonderful, there's possibilities. There is a possibility, and fear is part of change. Of course it is. It's what is going to happen. You know, for me, it's like, are you just going to sit in your house all the time, Yvonne, and just never go anywhere and never? I'm grieving my life. It's like I feel this grief of, you know, what it wants to come up in my mind as what was. But what keeps coming to me is that my mum, who was in the during the war. I mean, she's been dead years now, but she remembered telling me once about the war, and as young girls, so they were like young in the I don't know, teens, late teens, early 20s, and she said we used to say, well, when we get back to normal, and she said, how naive were we? How naive. And if I hold that picture of her, it was so sincere when she said it. It was like I was in that moment with her. When we get back to normal, because that's all they've got a memory of. So it's like, well, we have this memory, don't we? We have this memory that keeps churning round and creating the same sequence of events. And now that's not there. For whatever it looks like for you. I mean, for me, it's like my whole life has been, I've always been part of another. I've always had a partner. And so I'm really grieving that, and I'm alone. You know, I'm not belonging to anyone.
Do you think
it's that?
Do you think it's quite a theme for people? Because I certainly have felt that aloneness. Yeah.
And so out of that aloneness, what's it going to look like? No idea. So the uncertainty is there. So the key in this is the uncertainty. What I feel, it doesn't matter what the event. I'm saying it doesn't matter. That's quite careless of me to say. It does matter. But if we can see that the key in it is the uncertainty. And so it's, how do I respond to uncertainty? Because I've always fixed it in the past. I've always fixed it, and I can't. It's like, what is the truth? So the truth is key as well for me. It's like, so there's that uncertainty, and there's the what is the truth. And the outside world, I mean, you both know for a while, it's like I have come off Facebook, and I've not, the sequence of events in my life have just naturally brought that in. It's not like I've made a conscious, I'm not doing that anymore. It's just happened. It's just sort of like a sense inside of like, do you know what, this is not satisfying anymore. Not to deny what's going on out there, but I can't do anything to help with that unless I feel, you know, unless it's in front of me. Of course I'd be caring and help, but I can't if I'm not prepared to see it differently, because then I'll be just helping them to, I don't know what I'm saying here, I'm probably distracting a bit.
So can
it's come to me. It's got to be me. It's got to be me right now. It's like the airline code of conduct, isn't it? Put your own mask on first before your baby's on. Otherwise you can't help. And so in this place of like feeling disturbed and discombobulated inside, that's also to a degree frightening, isn't it? That emotional turmoil of like grief or anger or however that emotion is manifesting, it's like, I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know what it's going to do, this grief. It could turn into anger, and then I do want to trash my world. I do, you know, there is a momentarily desire to just change everything, and that for me would look like running away from it. But that's not going to change how I'm feeling. If I go and sit in the woods or take off to the Mediterranean or whatever, I'm hiking up the hills in Himalayas, it's not going to change my emotional inside. It's still there, isn't it? And that seems to be happening automated. I mean, I was like so bemused, as in this feeling that come up, and it didn't start in the moment. It started some point in the last few days of like, I felt shock. I felt like shock, that kind of feeling, and then just letting it unfold, and it's coming to grief. It's like, well, where's it come from? There's no event going on. There is outside in the world. There's not in my little world here in the house. There's nothing going on in here. So where is that coming from? And it's got to be the effect of everybody. has to be, we're all sharing the same space. It looks like a big wide world, but we're all sharing the space somehow. So it's all of ours. It's not passing the buck. It's like I'm feeling the grief of everybody, and I'm feeling the anger of everybody, or I'm feeling the joy, or I'm feeling the, so it's like, gosh, I'm realizing how connected I am to everybody. And there isn't the aloneness, and I can't separate from that and without still somehow feeling it. It's like I realise we're all in it together. We're all in it together.
Exactly. That's what when I said, can I chip in? That's exactly what I was going to say, that I feel this, you know, we mustn't underestimate the collective trauma that's happening. And there's going to be a lot of healing that's going to need to happen, and a lot of conversation. And one of the things around recovering from trauma is, you know, if you think about, if you think about the window of tolerance, I don't know if you're familiar with the window of tolerance, that basically our nervous system and our being has this window, that the more resilient we are, the bigger this window of tolerance. The more things in our life that we have, the more practices, the more social relationships, the more financial possibility, whatever it is that makes you feel resilient. The more resilient you are, the less traumatic childhood experiences you've had, the more you can cope with stress. The more you can cope with stress. So the more adverse effects you've had and currently have, the less you can, so your window gets smaller. So outside, you know, so outside of this window, you can have hypo arousal, which means you freeze, you can't make any decisions, you absent yourself. And hyper, you know, you can explode, you can get angry, you can take it out on the world, and you're hypersensitive. So if you think about that at the moment, because of the collective stress that's happening on all levels, you know, the isolation alone, you know, saying that you can't actually physically touch other people, you know, removing touch from people and removing friendship support and that community, it's almost that community really. It's what's the worst thing that you can say to a human being? What's the worst punishment that there is in prison? Isolation. What's the worst punishment in a psychiatric ward? Isolation. What's the worst punishment in a school? I remember in boarding school, the worst thing they could do to us was to send us to this pink room. It was pink, I think, in isolation. It's the worst thing you can do to someone. Is what do bullies and kids at school do? What is it called? Centre Coventry or something? When people stop talking to people. Yeah. You know, what's the worst thing you can do? Just to say to somebody, right, you're out, don't have any connection. So this isolation plus the uncertainty of the economy, uncertainty around health, and all the narrative that's happening, the collective trauma is immense, and seeing other people suffer, you know. So this window of tolerance, you know, when the first lockdown happened, many of us who have our own practices, we kind of sailed through it because we were like, yeah, it's fine, I'm just like on a retreat, I'm drumming, I'm singing, I'm with nature. Yeah. But it wasn't that for many people. Not, you know, some people divorced and all of a sudden went into, you know, hyper. All of a sudden their window was really small. Because why? Because they didn't have the resilience in the first place. So, or somebody might have, you know, so the crises have happened at different points for different people. And it's now been, I don't know, 8-9 months of isolation and this narrative of uncertainty, and we don't know what's going to happen next. And our window might have been quite big, but because of, you know, because of the collective trauma and the level of trauma and the level of grief in the collective, our windows are getting really small. It's not good. It doesn't take much for us to whap out on either side, to either just freeze and think, I'm a victim, there's nothing I can do, or to get angry. And I think, you know, so we just need to take time out. I think I'm talking to myself here. When I say we, I mean to take time out, which is what I've been trying to do in the last couple of weeks, because I realized, you know, mine was becoming very thin and I was sort of wanting to cry at nothing, basically. And so, you know, what are the things that we can put in? What are the things that, you know, when there's this much pressure and you think, I've got to do this, I've got to, what do you have to do? Okay, come back to stillness. Come back to yourself. What are the things that you can do to bring more joy to yourself? you know, what are the opportunities for socializing? What are the opportunities for remembering that you actually do have friends in the world? What are the opportunities for live music? You know, maybe we can have live, you know, without the arts, human beings are dead. We've been stripped of the arts. Like, we need music, we need dance, we need creativity, we need culture, you know, these are things that have made humans. So yeah, you know, when squirrels are squirrels, but I doubt if they've got theatre and the arts and comedy. You know, they just do what squirrels do. What humans do is create, you know, it's the creative spirit. And that I feel like I just want to go to a gig, I want to go and dance with people, I want to have a party, I want to open my doors and invite everyone in and say, how's it been for you? How are you? You know, have a collective shared experience, not on Zoom, not on Skype, but in person. I want to look into people's eyes, I want to hug them. And I think that's the thing that's getting to me the most, is the lack of that collective. And
that was for me really, really helpful, that window, because I've been wondering what's been happening to me. You know, I've been in personal development 40 years, and I have a pretty good toolbox that I can, you know, of things I can pull on. But like last night, in the middle of the night, I woke up at 2 o'clock, and the fear that engulfed me. But along with that came this voice that was berating me. You know, so it's all the uncertainty. So all the self-doubt comes in, all the unworthiness seemed to come in, and and the judgment of who I am. And I've had that before. You know, that's a common theme in my life: not feeling good enough, or not maybe feeling worthwhile enough. But I've never had it quite as strongly as I did last night. I said to you before, it was like a dark night of the soul, where I was just feeling absolutely annihilated. So even in that moment, with all my skills, I find it really, really, really hard to pull myself out of that. And what it made me feel was how many people can't pull themselves out of that, and how many people are actually in that day in and day out, those awful, horrible feelings, however they show up, you know, of just despair, or feeling defeated, or hopeless, or just don't know what to do. And I feel like, in a way, I was kind of gifted that last night, although I'd rather not have been, by the way. But it sort of gifted that, to have some insight into, like what you said, often we're picking up what's happening out in the collective. So maybe some of that wasn't my own, but I'm connecting with people energetically who are going through this. So is that, you know, I can look at, well, what do I do to soothe that place, or listen to it, or whatever, you know, or accept it, or help it, and how might I help others? You know, what do I do to get myself through that, and how might that benefit others? But I actually was feeling like, really, like I hit an all-time low last night. And maybe I had experienced that maybe 20-30 years ago, but not in my most recent years, not to that extent and with that depth. So I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I was thinking, what's wrong with me? I sort this, you know, what is happening to me? That was, and then the fear and the panic. What is happening to me, you know, or what is going to happen next? What is like, is out of my control. I mean, and that's where that earlier conversation came from, where I thought I could just be a woman on the edge and go absolutely bonkers and get taken away and get sectioned, possibly. I mean, the other thing is, I think if I'd known what was going to happen this year, I would have asked to have been sectioned.
Many probably did.
light workers probably knew this was coming and took themselves off somewhere. So it's such a challenge. But hearing you say that, Elham, I do feel that this second round and what's happening now must be, really.
It's gone on too long. We had even those of us who were resilient,
Yeah.
Even those of us who were resilient to begin with and had our own toolboxes, it's just going on too long. So I want to ask you a question, Gwen. So what do you think would help you right now, and what do you need? Because I think that question might help other people. What can you do that will bring some more resilience for you? What do you need?
I think conversations like this,
Yeah,
that when it gets you in the middle of the night, there's not a lot really. But for me last night, I just stayed with it. I didn't try and avoid it. I wanted to know it. But what I did in the end is I speak light language, and I couldn't connect with my heart. And the only thing that helped me was using light language as a lullaby to just soothe my aching heart and calm my nerves, basically. But what would I need? What I could really do with is almost like having a group, like an accountability group.
yeah,
Somebody that, where we could all work together. Like this, but maybe something even more structured. So is that I could share my skills, and other people could say, feedback to me and ask me, like this question, what do you need? And today I just needed this connection with you and to be able to tell you what I've been through, and just get your love and support back. Not every day is like this. Yesterday I was jubilant all day. That's the other thing. It's like that. And that is really sore on the nervous system. It's a bit like what you were saying about flight or freeze, flight. What is it?
Fight, flight, freeze.
Right. So we're in that kind of state a lot of the time. So physically, I'm aware that I could take better care of myself as well.
Yeah.
We talked about rest last week, but I'm in a hyper vigilant state. So rest is not easy. So even sharing techniques or being reminded, whoa, so check-ins, and it's people, Elham. It's other people. I can do a lot on my own, but I without people, I could just go whoa.
Not just you, everyone.
Mm.
Everyone. We are relational beings.
Mm. What do you think? How might you answer that question?
Are you talking to Yvonne? Or Yvonne, do you want to answer?
I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe what's coming for me is that I avoid solitude, and the avoidance of solitude is not helpful because I'm distracting. My life has been relational. It's like I've always been a people person, always been sociable, always been people. And to actually to honour the solitude, to welcome it, as Gwen just said something there about a gift, and how that's really beautiful reminder for me it's a gift. So the grief is a gift, the anger is a gift, everything that I'm experiencing is a gift. what feels so uncomfortable is the not knowing of like, oh my God, am I stuck in this forever? That's the fear that comes up. This little girl, because am I stuck in here forever? Am I in this dark cave forever?
Mm.
And it's like the reassurance of that. Do I get that from others? I don't really know. It's helpful. It's helpful when I meet up with you guys, but something that's coming into view for me, it's like self-regulation, self-regulatory, and there's steps to this. Like you say, it's like, where are you on it? Each one of us are in a different, you know, we know historically what us three have experienced, and all those experiences are in the now, aren't they? They're now. That's what we experience again until it loses its fire, like Gwen described it. It's almost like an inferno that's just burning out. You know, it's like, how many times has this story gone round? You know, what the collective, let's say the collective. I just mentioned about my mum and the war. It's no different now. It's a war. What war is it? It's an information war. It's sensory deprivation we seem to be experiencing. And so what do I need? I don't know. I really don't know. I just think that I know. It's like I think that I know.
Elham, what about you?
I need a party. I was thinking yesterday about how to have a Christmas party, like a Tara Centre Christmas party, because we always have one. I was thinking, well, you know, if we did it on Zoom, how could we do it that it would be fun? You know, would we all? I don't know. I feel like I want to see everyone. I want to see everyone. I want to. Yeah, I need a party. That's what I mean. I could just, you know, because the mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Like if you imagine it, the biochemical response is the same as if it actually happens to you. So I could just imagine that I'm at the Tara Centre and everyone's coming in and bringing food.
Isn't that wonderful?
We could all just imagine it together.
Well, isn't that a wonderful tip? Because again, that's what we've done as humans. We've done that for eons, haven't we? We start as kids and we daydream, don't we? We daydream. So maybe that's the need to, yeah. How wonderful to daydream and imagine what would I like to see?
Party. Christmas is a time for getting together. It's an excuse for social, you know, social interaction, and yeah, that's what I need. I need to find ways to actually see human beings now.
Okay, well, that's us at the top of the hour. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. What I would invite you to do is write to us. And I'm just thinking from the conversation that we have, I don't know what you feel, Yvonne, Elham. It might be beneficial if you need any help, write to us in the comments, okay? And we will get back to you. You don't have to disclose a whole lot. Just say, I'd like to speak to you. I'd like to share something. And we will be there. As part of this table talk, we would like to provide support. It's not only us just sharing and talking about our experiences, but it's to help and support you through your experiences. So please, please get in touch. What we don't want is people out there feeling so isolated that they get into a very dark place where they don't feel they can reach out. Please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's us for today. And thank you all very much. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.